There is an old adage that you may remember. It goes something like, sell in May and go away. Traditionally, there has been some wisdom associated with that, but it's now possible that this May 2025 may be different, because if we look at Bitcoin's history over the last 15 years, May has actually done pretty well by the numbers here. 9 times May was green, and only 6 times it saw red. So that's 67% in the green, about 2/3 of the time. Not too bad. We also have a bull run that, according to everybody, is about to kick off as well. That seems to be likely, at least. According to Plan B, for example, the next 6 to 7 months could very well be life-changing. And I think we could all use a little bit of enthusiasm here, a little bit of optimism, really after what's been kind of a lousy 2025 so far, to say the least. There is reason to be optimistic this May for the next few weeks. We're going to take advantage of that as much as possible. And we're going to break down which coins, which altcoins in the crypto space we are most interested in and why. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest, okay? These altcoins that we're looking at or otherwise, I genuinely wish you well. Just remember that I'm not a financial or investment advisor, which means by extension that this video is not official financial or investment advice. The very first altcoin that we expect to pump in May is Cardano, ticker ADA. And you can call this a little bit of a safe bet perhaps, but one of its main new features that we're excited about, and that's breaking new ground, is Midnight, because this brings the all-important variable of privacy to Cardano. The reason that so many analysts and devotees of the project are excited about Midnight is that it balances confidentiality with compliance, and that's a big deal. Charles Hoskinson, of course, is very positive about Midnight. At least according to him, it has the potential to bring tens of millions of new users to Cardano. Now look, Hoskinson is known to be a little bit of a drama queen, a little bit hyperbolic at times, but even if this is just partially true, even if just a fraction of those numbers come in, of course, it's going to be big positive news for Cardano. And then obviously, of course, that would catapult the price of ADA accordingly to probably well above its $3 all-time high. For context and reference, right now, we are up 4% on the day, sitting at just above 70 cents. What also ought to be considered is the Cardano ETF, because according to Polymarket, there is a 70% chance for this to happen at some point this year in 2025. And if we rewind just a week ago, this figure stood at 60%. So nothing is guaranteed, but that sentiment right there in just a week represents a 10% shift towards the positive, at least in terms of what people are expecting. Don't forget that on Polymarket, they're putting their money where their mouth is. And then also in February of this year, we saw Grayscale, which filed for a Cardano ETF. They also recently filed for a digital large cap fund ETF, which includes Cardano and of course ADA. So things are certainly moving when it comes to this possibility. It's looking more and more realistic, more and more probable as well. Furthermore, Hoskinson revealed just a few days ago that you can use Bitcoin in your Lace wallet, which would bring Cardano one step closer to Bitcoin. That relationship between Cardano and Bitcoin is just getting richer and deeper. More and more functionality is being introduced and promised, so that's looking good. Again, ADA right now, as I record, is just ever so slightly above 70 cents. I know it hasn't been the sexiest project, historically speaking, but this could be a pretty good entry point. Next up, and at number 2 on this list, is ONDO Finance. Ticker is ONDO, ONDO, which is currently the RWA market leader as a result of all the fallout that we saw, the negativity, unfortunately, with Mantra and OM. As you can see with this chart here, we have Link and Stellar that are technically, I guess, number 1 and 2, but those are infrastructure providers specifically. ONDO Finance really is the real deal when it comes to RWA projects. RWA, of course, standing for real world assets. And if you haven't checked out our dedicated video that we put out recently on ONDO Finance, take a look. I'll include its link in the description below. Now, the really big news that we've seen out of ONDO recently is that they just sat down with the SEC Crypto Task Force. That's the Security and Exchange Commission's Crypto Task Force. And this was all about the topic of regulating tokenization. With Paul Atkins being the new SEC chair, ONDO actually has someone on their side now who, at least as far as we know, seems to look favorably towards RWA and more broadly speaking, probably crypto in general as well. I think that's fair to say. ONDO is gearing up for a, quote, wicked hot summer of legislation for crypto. These are the words of their vice chairman, Patrick McHenry. And at the forefront of their products are two yield-bearing stablecoins. Those are USDY and OUSG. Both of these are yield coins. These coins represent actually a new class of tokenized assets because they deliver steady on-chain yield. And with its two coins, ONDO offers institutions a pretty sweet opportunity because they can access institutional grade yield. And of course, that's without the friction of traditional finance. The current price of ONDO sits right now at just above 92 cents. It's up slightly on the day. This is another one that in my book represents probably a pretty good entry point. Earlier this week, it was over $1, so there has been a dip, and you could argue that this is a decent bargain if you extrapolate and you take a look at where, in all likelihood, the RWA market is expected to go. This Spotlight video is sponsored by Walrus Protocol, which has the fastest solution for data storage on the market today. And of course, it's from the team behind SUI. And it's a potential Filecoin killer because it does, quite frankly, a lot of things that Filecoin cannot. And it's climbing up the market cap rankings too in the top 100. One thing is that it's so resilient that even with only a few nodes operating, your data availability won't be affected. Decentralized data storage on Walrus is solving a pretty big problem that many blockchains suffer from. That's poor coordination, and it affects you more than you may realize. Walrus Protocol has some pretty big advantages with SUI and the Move programming language over other decentralized data providers. The problem, as they see it, is coordination. That's making sure if a protocol does three things, that those things work seamlessly with each other. Also, the protocol needs to work with other projects in the ecosystem and with the blockchain infrastructure, like validators. Walrus has some new partners too, like Klanosaurs and Seal for security and privacy management. The Walrus mainnet and WAL token launch are a huge success. And to stay updated on mainnet activities and other news, make sure to follow Walrus Protocol's X account and their other socials. Check out the link in the description of this video below for more information. Next up, and at number 3 here, we're looking at the SUI Network and of course its SUI token and its ecosystem. All of these are pretty much on fire. SUI's been a great project. It took a hit through no fault of its own when the market was suffering these last several weeks and several months. But if you take a look at SUI, it is up 70% in the last 14 days. Some of its ecosystem tokens are actually up even more over the course of the last couple of weeks. And again, this is a quality project. And check out this video if you haven't already. We count down our 3 favorite SUI ecosystem tokens. On the 1st of May, which is today, the SUI Basecamp starts in Dubai. During this event, there's going to be lots of hot news coming out of the SUI camp, which is why personally I expect the price of SUI to keep going up in the near-term future. And perhaps you may also want to take into consideration that we seem to be at the beginning of what looks to be the final leg of this bull run. So that's going to translate into positive price activity for SUI. Kostas Chalkias, he's the resident mad scientist at SUI. He's revealed another new feature as well. You can now send crypto without internet. A shaky telecom signal is actually all you need. During SUI Basecamp, he's going to be talking more about this and some of the new features here, but pretty impressive technical development. SUI's DEX volume has also been very impressive. It has surged 245% during Q1 of 2025, which has been basically a pretty troubled quarter for the rest of crypto. But DEX volume for SUI up 245% during that time. CETUS protocol, ticker CETUS, was one of the biggest winners with 125% gains for its CETUS token price. BTC-Fi also grew 4 times. It quadrupled, which shows that Bitcoin on SUI is also making waves. So the price of SUI is up nearly 10% on the day. It sits right now as I record at $3.69. Look, the previous all-time high was $5.35. If you were to bet, if you were to invest, I think there's a pretty good chance that it surpasses actually that previous all-time high. And then it becomes, uncharted territory. We'll see how high it can get, but I think chances are pretty good that we're going to not only meet that previous all-time high, but go beyond it. This is just a project that seems to be doing everything right, and this market should reward it. Again, we're at that last leg here of the bull market. Things are starting to look positive again. The cream always rises to the top, and in terms of altcoins, SUI is pretty much one of the best. Last but not least here at number 4, we have to mention Ripple. And of course, it's XRP token. This is our last pick for the day. And they had some big recent news in the form of XRP futures ETF approval by the SEC. Of course, a logical next step would be the spot ETF. That certainly would be enormous positive news and would represent a very strong positive price impulse for XRP, which sits right now at $2.23. It's up a little bit on the day. This is probably still a good entry point, especially if subsequent to this video at some point in the near or medium term future, we get that positive spot ETF news. That would be massive. And it's also pretty likely because right now there are 72 filings currently waiting for approval. At least 12 of them relate to XRP. So you can probably see what's going to happen here with the price of XRP if even just one of those were to get approved. The XRP army represents a very loyal fan base, and they are rightfully pretty positive when it comes to their outlook here, their perspective. Now, look, sometimes admittedly they go a bit overboard, but XRP could see a breakout soon. That is very realistic. It's very possible. And keep in mind that its all-time high was $3.40. That wasn't this cycle. That was 7 years ago. So certainly the XRP army deserves to be a little bit enthusiastic right now. There's a lot of good news, and chances are there's going to be even more good news coming relatively soon, and that should translate positively into the price of XRP, of course. Now, the end game for Ripple is for XRP to be really the standard rails for international money transfers, and that would mean effectively replacing SWIFT. It's possible. That really is the best case ideal scenario. Let me know if you think that is likely, what percentage of likelihood you'd attach to it. I think that's probably a long ways off, but it's a good, lofty and ambitious goal. Those are the 4 altcoins that we feel are worth your attention, that probably ought to be on your radar for these next few weeks during the month of May 2025. Let me know among these which one is your favorite. If maybe your favorite was not listed, which would you include? Which have we omitted that you feel deserve some attention, deserve some focus, and should be in the spotlight? Let me know what those are in the comments below. We can perhaps feature them on an upcoming video.